Excellent.
Coast to coast, baby. Coast to coast, baby. All right, let's get it.
Here goes Allen.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, aliens, people of all the multiverses, welcome back to Coast to Coast. It's Whittle 2K back again with my buddy Beyond 716, and we are fresh off of a dominant, absolutely dominant performance against the fan favorites Miami Dolphins. Thank you, national media, for propping them up and making it seem like they were unbeatable. Uh, the Bills do what the Bills do. They slayed the dragon, and Miami went down. Um, it was a combination of just Buffalo playing out of their mind. Josh Allen owns the Miami Dolphins. His career numbers are just ridiculous. And the defense, like it was just every level of the game, every single level of the offense, defense, every single level of the team just played out of their mind. Beyond, talk to me, man. You watched this game just like I did. Talk to me.
I mean, it's just one of those games, where you just go, wow, right? And just to give you a little context from the other side, one of my best friends is a diehard Dolphin fan, right? Got the phone call, after he was done stewing about the game, right? And the first
Right.
thing he said, listen, I'm just going to tell you straight up, that looked like a Super Bowl team to me, like in every way. Offense, defense, special teams. Josh Allen's efficiency was off the charts. I mean, you mentioned the stats. He's thrown for two or more touchdowns in all 12 games, and he's won AFC Player of the Week 5 times against the Dolphins. He's only played him 12 times. Just think about those performances that Josh is putting up right now are just so incredible. And it was like a well-oiled machine. It was shocking. I'm not surprised we won. I mean, we talked about it last week. Just the margin of victory and just how dominant we were across the board was just incredible.
The man has 38 touchdowns. Oh, I'm sorry, 39 total touchdowns, 7 interceptions against the Miami Dolphins in his
Incredible.
career. It's ridiculous. Um, Sean McDermott's defense. The question was, what are you guys going to do with the speed of this Miami defense, this Miami offense? What are you going to do? They're so efficient. They're running around. They're flying all over the place. Did you see them put 70 points on the Broncos? Oh my God, what are you guys going to do? Did you see them put 70 points on the Broncos? Wow, they're such a great team. And nobody really took a look at what the Buffalo Bills have been doing. We were going into that game the number 2 ranked offense according to DVOA, and we were the number 2 ranked defense according to DVOA, scoring, yards, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, we were I believe, top 5 in sacks going into that game. Now we're tied for number 1 after that game. I mean, there were questions in the offseason about whether or not Sean McDermott could actually get the play calling on the defense down and still be able to run the team effectively. I mean, we're done with a quarter of the season. I think he's answered those questions. What do you think?
Oh, without question. I mean, when it comes to the national media, we were we were we were the flavor of the year last year. Let's be honest, right? We heard it, and I think the media sometimes it's just how they are. They get tired of things pretty quickly. I mean,
Mhm.
wait, just give it about 2 weeks, they'll be tired of Kelsey and what's her name, Taylor Swift, right? It doesn't take long for the media to go through things, right? So
Right.
with us, I think people saw the losses, people saw the changes, and like, this team's due to come down to earth, and that is just not the case. They really weren't paying attention to the moves we made in the offseason, which you and I went into great length about for many hours over the offseason. So, and the national media got a taste of what that is. I mean, can you name a player in our defensive line that is not playing extremely well right now?
Tim Settle. But go ahead. I'm joking.
That's it, right? Yeah. Well, true.
Shaq Lawson.
One, right?
Shaq Lawson did have a rough game Sunday. He got blown up a couple times, but I mean, Shaq's a pro. He's been very good against the run. So
absolutely, but just Ed Oliver. I mean, Daquan Jones and what you're seeing of those guys is just, it's been at an elite level. It's shocked even the most optimistic fan out there across the board. And and now the media is starting to see it again. They're putting us towards the top. They're kind of backtracking on some of their statements. And listen, we still got a long way to go, but I mean, the returns are even as I couldn't even have cooked up that kind of performance yesterday in my wildest dreams. I mean, on Sunday.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I play people in Madden sometimes, and they pick the Miami Dolphins. I don't know if I've beaten somebody that bad. That was just amazing. I'm gonna skip the old line for right now. We'll talk a little bit about 27, man. Tre'Davious White went down. He tore his Achilles. He is out for the season. This is his first full off season and full off season after his ACL tear that he suffered in 2021 against New Orleans Saints. As someone who's torn both, I've obviously never played cornerback in the NFL, but I've torn my Achilles in both legs and I tore my ACL. The Achilles is a hard rehab. It really is. It took a major toll on me. I was older than Trey when I tore mine the second time. But it is a difficult road back, and all my prayers and just well wishes to Trey and his family. And we know how hard he worked to get back after the ACL. So to see him come back and start to look like Trey again, like I'm gonna keep bringing up that interception he had against the Commanders. Outside leverage on a deep hitch route, stops, turns, contorts his body, jumps the pass and intercepts the football in the end zone. Amazing play, and did not touch the receiver. It was great. It was just a great play. He looked like he was back. He was playing really well. Dropped a pick 6 against Miami. But it stinks, man. But the difference this time is instead of having Levi Wallace as CB1, we will have Christian Benford, Dane Jackson, who last time he came in for Trey played really, really well. Played like 6 or 7 games that year. Gave up no touchdowns. They had him guarding guys like Gronk. They had him guarding guys like Mike Evans. They had him guarding your Tyreek Hill. They had him guarding Jalen Waddle. They had him guarding everybody, and he played really, really well. So, we do have very good depth at the cornerback position. And the wild card here is Kyer Elam. Kyer Elam has the athletic profile to do some of the things physically that Trey White has done for this defense. Kyer is by far our best press man corner. He's the fastest corner we have, the most athletic, probably the best ball skills. The man played what did he play last year? Like 8 games, 8 or 8 to 10 games, and he had like 3 interceptions. So the ball skills are there as well. It got to the point last year where they stopped throwing to his side. So, yeah, man. I mean, it hurts, man. Losing Trey hurts.
You said it best. Just from the fans' point of view. I mean, you mentioned Madden before, right? And if you play a season and you get to the podium, we envision like Josh Allen, at the podium. And I mean, tell me Trey White isn't one of the first you think of, right? That you want to see towards the front of that, right? He's been like one of the quote OGs of this renaissance, as you will, right? He was one of our first picks. he's so popular in that room.
He was McDermott's first pick. He was McDermott's first draft pick.
Yep. He's such a listen. I don't ever pretend to know these players, but you could just see it in Trey. He's just a good person through and through. You could just see it. Like, just you remember how he broke down when he got his extension, talking about he could take care of his family, and that just speaks volumes of the character. And Whittle, you noticed you mentioned your torn Achilles, right? Just the mental toll that has to be on Trey right now. Like, so coming all the way back from what he did, and he was looking great, and just that reaction, it just it hits you right here, right? It really, really did. And, we certainly keep Trey in our thoughts and prayers, and I hope he's able to come back. But that leads to something else. I never begrudge a player for trying to get his money as fast as possible. We just saw a perfect example why. Right. With Trey White. Right. You just never know, unfortunately, when that can happen. It's such a physical game. It's so demanding on the body. So, and I agree with you. I think our depth is more equipped. Do you think there could be a possible deal, or do you think we just kind of wait and see as things go over the next month? In terms of, I
heard that they brought somebody on a practice squad. I honestly hadn't had a chance to kind of go in depth with that, but there are guys out there that I think could add value to this cornerback room. Matter of fact, I know that they brought somebody in. Let me pull that up now. I know they brought a guy in, so we'll see. We'll see, but
yeah, I cannot recall.
Just losing Trey, man, was
Herb. Was it Herb Miller? Whittle, we signed to the practice squad. I think he was a head of Carolina connection, if I remember correctly. But I cannot remember specifics.
We always shopping. Oh yeah. Bill signed cornerback Herb Miller. Yes, that's who it was. Bill signed cornerback Herb Miller to add depth after All-Pro Tre'Davious White suffered the season-ending injury. That stinks. I don't know much about Herb Miller. He won a Super Bowl playing with what was that, Tampa Bay? I believe it was Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Of course he played for Carolina. Everybody that plays for us played for Carolina at some point. I'm sure in a few years we'll trade Josh down here. Yeah, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I want to move past the Trey injury and shine a light on a unit that has been in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons for Josh's entire career as the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, and that is the offensive line. Number one, we've done this already. We've given credit where credit has been due, but we're going to do it again. Aaron Cromer, Coach Cromer, sir, thank you. Thank you, and thank your parents for having you, and thank them for raising you with the mind that you have, because the offensive line under your coaching has just done a complete 180. I can't believe how quickly Spencer Brown has improved. Osiris Torrance is they call him Cybo. Like, he is stout. I don't think he's given up a sack so far this year. It just seems like every move we made in the trenches, especially on the offensive side of the ball, has worked. We ran the ball. I don't want to say we ran the ball super effective, but I think we ran the ball consistently, and we consistently went forward. There were very few negative plays, and those things, and the ability to run the football the way we did, especially that big breakout run that Latavius Murray had. I think it was like 41 yards. That allowed us to get out and utilize the play action, keep the linebackers and safeties in place, and allow guys like Diggs and Davis to work down the field with one-on-one coverage as long as possible. So kudos to that offensive line, kudos to this offense, kudos to these guys. They have really, really impressed. But with that being said, we have a trip coming up, and the Buffalo Bills travel across the Atlantic. They're going to the UK to play the Jags, and this is a team that has been a thorn in our side for a very long time. It's a competitive team. It's a playoff team. They just won their division in the South last year. They got a lot of young talent, and we have a special guest we'd like to bring on, Travis Holmes. He is a writer for. Let me make sure I get this correct because I do not want to butcher your name, butcher your accolades, sir. Before you come on here, I don't want to do that. I feel like I did it already before. So he is a Jackson Jaguars news contributor for BigCatCountry.com. He is a game day analyst at A7BN Sports in Florida. He's also with the South Florida Tribune, Inside the Pigskin podcast, and a UCF alum. You know we love UCF. You know we love UCF. Ain't that right, Gabe Davis?
Yes,
13.
we do.
All right, without further ado, we're going to bring our special guest on. Ladies and gentlemen, Travis Holmes coming to the stage now. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening.
Hey,
good
Travis.
evening. I appreciate that introduction. Hey, I need you to do my credit, sir.
Hey, no problem, man. You know, hit me up in the DMs, man. We'll set something up. No problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Travis. Really appreciate it.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed chopping it up with you guys yesterday, also in the Twitter Spaces. That was a fun time.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to see me in in rare form, but it was necessary. The Jet fans sometimes get. I know you got your rivalries, and sometimes you got little brother, and little brother always just keeps bothering you. It's like, come on, man, get out of my room. That's the Jets. The Jets always want. Yeah, we keep them in the basement, but they try to keep coming upstairs, and it's like you don't live up here.
I'll openly acknowledge you guys have been around a little bit longer and had a little bit more success to have that little brother. If anything, I would say the Jaguars' only true little brother is probably the Pittsburgh Steelers. And unfortunately, we're no longer in the same division anymore, when they switched it up to the AFC South. So, but before that, yeah, we were always that team that just dominated them. I'm sure they were happy to get us out of the same division.
I'm sure the Steelers aren't faring too well this year. We heard a lot about them in the offseason, and so far it's bearing no fruit.
Yes, sir.
All right, Travis, man, talk to us about these Jags, man. Talk to us about the Jaguars. You got a lot of young talent over there.
Well, we do, and that's what's so frustrating about how this season has started. Is mainly been just for the most part the offensive line injury started in training camp. And once that happened, we thought we had a significant depth when we signed Josh Wells from Tampa Bay as our, hopeful quote unquote swing tackle. He gets injured in training camp. He's done for the season, IR. All right, cool. It's fine. We drafted Anton Harrison. Well, Cam Robinson is suspended for 4 seasons. All right, cool. So that's not really competition because this is going to be his first week back, potentially. It sounds likely this week against you guys, and that's never the great thing that you want to happen, right? The first game back against this dominant pass rush, but between those injuries, between us losing some of the depth that we had, between us, having 2 guys coming back from injury, Ben Barch, our left guard, ended up getting hurt last season. He started off pretty rough this season, actually got benched last week against Atlanta. So all of a sudden, this thing that we thought that we had this dominant or at least, reasonably above average offensive line has now become, hey man, let's just make it to week 4. Let's just make it to week 5. And hopefully we'll get Cam back and this thing will make sense, or they'll be able to find the 5 best guys. And that's sort of what it's been. And it's changed a lot of the way that they run the offense, because this team that was a more vertical team, realistically 15 to 20 yards down the field, has now become this 10 to 15 yard, offense, more horizontal instead of being vertical, because of those injuries to that O-line and earlier in the season. But no, we have it's a really young group. I mean, again, you guys know the other Josh Allen, the defensive end for the Jaguars. He's been historically this pressure monster, and now he's finally converting those pressures into sacks this season. It's wonderful to see. Trevon Walker on the opposite side, a first round draft pick, is not. I don't know a good way to say that, but let's just say he hasn't become the pass rusher that they want him to be just yet. Again, you don't really want to start having that conversation until the end of this season, probably early next season, to to say where he's going to fall. But nevertheless, it's been an interesting thing with that defense because that 2021 draft class has also been just amazing. Andre Cisco, you have Rayshon Jenkins as the two safeties for the Jaguars have been incredible. You got Tyson Campbell back there. He's just balling out of control. Like, as far as that Jaguars defense, that Jaguars secondary, they've been doing their thing, carrying this team while the offense kind of figures out what it wants to do with this new receiver, this offensive line, this horizontal kind of offense. So it's been frustrating, but also interesting because you can see the team that we saw in 2022, but there's these little things that just keep just frustratingly it's just an irritating watch because you can see the ceiling, but they're just doing these small things that just make it so that they don't achieve the goal that they're looking for.
Yeah, I agree with you, Travis. Go ahead, Whittle.
Now on the offensive side of the football, like I know you guys have a bunch of wide receivers, man. Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, who should be a Buffalo Bill, but we'll let that go for now. He should be a Bill
Someday.
Zay Jones, who used to be a Bill, Evan Ingram, who's the guy the running back you guys picked up in the draft? Was that
Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby?
Tank Bigsby. Yeah, you picked up Tank Bigsby in the draft, and then you guys have Etienne, who also should be a Bill, but we'll let that one go as well. And you mentioned the guys on defense, man.
Yeah.
Tyson Campbell is underrated by far. I love the linebackers, Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma. They're not great in coverage, but they're still young and they're athletic enough to develop into. They're young and they're athletic enough to develop into a competent pair of linebackers who can do it all.
Right.
Now, the interior of your defensive line and the offensive line have lacked they've lacked the same luster as the rest of the team. So what are you guys doing to fix that? Because like you said, you did take Anton Harrison. I wasn't too high on him. I mean, he was out of the first round tackles, he was probably the biggest project. But the measurables and everything else is there. I don't want that. Don't get it twisted. He looks like an NFL tackle for sure. And he played to that level Oklahoma. So I just don't know. I just don't know about the trenches. And that worries me because you have so much talent everywhere else. And great talent can sometimes be overshadowed by poor trench play.
All right, so I halfway agree with some of the comments that were made, but we just talked. I mean, you just gave me a lot to go to respond to. So as far as the trench play, first we'll start with Anton. Anton had a come to Jesus game against Chris Jones, and a lot of offensive linemen will have those games against that guy because he normally, for anyone who doesn't know, Chris Jones normally does not line up on one person when you play the Chiefs. He's 30% on the left end, 20% over the right guard, 40% on the other side. He's just going to find that matchup, and they'll move him around wherever they need to move him around in most games. And all of a sudden, when the Chiefs played against the Jaguars, they said, I'm going to put you over Anton Harrison 90% of the snaps, and you are going to go against this rookie, and until they help or whatever, basically, I want you to make his life hell. And that's basically what they did in that game. And honestly, that shocked me. A few other guys in the media when I talked to them, that shocked them too. And I'm 100% sure that shocked the Jaguars because the week beforehand, they played the Indianapolis Colts, and DeForest Buckner had a day against the Jaguars center and left guard. So in all of our minds, they're going into the game with a now injured left guard and center who just had a rough game against another defensive tackle. They're thinking, and I'm thinking, they're probably going to want to give those, the inside of the O-line help. And the Chiefs are like, nah, we're going to put him on this rookie and let our second or our third best pass rusher dominate on the inside. And what are you going to do, Jaguars, to counter that? And it took probably till late in the fourth quarter for them to truly just counter that move, in my opinion. When I watch the tape, I'm just like, they're chipping in the inside over and over and over, and he's just destroying this guy on the outside. Like, unless you're going to start blocking with 6, 7, 8, like that destroys your whole offensive game plan that you worked on all week. Like, you're kind of stuck there. But outside of that game against Chris Jones, Anton's been great. I won't say he's been this amazing, beast, but no, he's been really good. So, and that's the unfortunate part. It's kind of killed it tanked his numbers a little bit when people are looking at pressures and things of that nature. But if you're not Chris Jones, I don't know if you're going to have that type of game against him. So he's solid. Walker Little's solid. It's the interior that's the question, honestly, of that O line. It's Luke Fortner at center. Are you guys going to be able to dominate and get that inside pressure? But as far as the edges, I actually have much less concern because Trevor Lawrence has a top 3 snap to throw rate in the NFL, and that's going back into last season. So normally he's not that guy that's going to hold the ball. He's going to get the ball out of his hands, and you're not going to get a lot of sacks based, that way. You're going to get sacks coming through the middle. But as far as the guys in coverage, the linebackers in coverage, I actually will agree with you that they're not your top flight coverage guys, but they are adequate enough that they can, earlier in the season they shut down Travis Kelce. Like, they, with the help of the safeties, obviously, they can find ways to tape this together, to super glue this thing together. They'll find a way to make it work with the right coverages and things of that nature. So between, Foye, Aluakon, and you got obviously Chad Muma, since Devin Lloyd is going to be injured for this game with his hand surgery. They have the pieces, and in very many ways, they're a lot like this Buffalo defense. And that's the part that I think is really going under the radar for most Buffalo fans. Again, we talked about this yesterday a little bit, and no one was talking about this Jaguars defense. It was always the Buffalo defense. And I'm like, dude, you guys are the top defense as far as turnovers in the league, but the Jaguars are 4th. 2 turnovers behind you guys. Like, and we both were tied last year in turnovers for 4th in the league. Like, this is not like just this season. This is going back into last year. These are 2 good defenses who run a lot of cover 2 trap, cover 2 palm, cover 2 man, whatever you want to call it, with some, cover 1 blitzes behind it, on occasion on those money downs. Dope. Right. Both defenses do the same thing, but both defenses don't play against their own defense. But both offenses don't play against their own defense. And this will be the first time that we'll get a real matchup that you guys will really be challenged on defense. The only question is, what is that Jacksonville offense going to do against a defense like theirs? That's my biggest question on this game, because you guys are a monster, and I will never down that offense because you guys are something serious.
I gotta agree with you there. The one thing about this Jacksonville defense that people underestimate is the speed, their ability to get from sideline to sideline. They rally tackle. I mean, they're just extremely fast. So whatever they lack at the point of attack, they make up with the ability to just chase you down and just consistently get after you. They always talk about these rookies and, I like this kid. He works hard. He's got a great motor. The entire Jaguars defense has a great motor. And that, I mean, it's annoying. It's annoying because they match up so well against us. And I just think they pose a really, really, really nasty threat on Sunday over there in London. Go ahead, Beyond. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's been great. Travis, I wanted to ask you about the health of your line. I know you mentioned there's been some issues with the health. I mean, are you getting anybody back? And I just wanted to get your overall thoughts on. I feel like, Trevor Lawrence has shown a lot of signs, right? I'm kind of waiting for that bust out, right? Like, he just starts going on like a 2-month just bender of just, what I mean? Just incredible stats. Like, I'm waiting for. We haven't quite seen it yet, and it maybe what you said, the line could have a lot to do with that. But I just want to get your overall thoughts on where you feel he is in his career, and also the health of your line going into the game this Sunday.
So there are so many variables to just that question, because that's loaded in and of itself. So to start, like you said earlier, with the O-line getting healthier, man, we got Cam Robinson, who finally, served his 4-game suspension, who's coming back at left tackle. That's going to allow us to move Walker Little, who was playing left tackle, to left guard. And we just talked about the fact that Ben Barch, our former left guard, was benched last week against Atlanta. But now Walker Little can go move inside. All of a sudden, it changes that whole left side of the line, and where they can improve, and hopefully that would allow us just to get back to what it was last year and having a more vertical offense. That's the first part. The second part is Trevor Lawrence ain't the problem here. Whew. If you watch the film and you see the big time throw, like he leads the NFL in big time throws, throws over 20 yards. And even when there's no separation, the throws that this dude has been making this season have just been insane. And if you would see how many throws that he's had, back of the end zone throws, sideline catches where the receiver should have dragged his feet, we have 7, 8. We're in week 4, like, of these catches that potentially could have been touchdowns or long throws that just the receiver didn't get the second foot in. And it's an insane. It's got to be a regression to the mean coming on that, right? Like, because we'd be having a totally different conversation right now. Everybody's like, "Hey, is Trevor Lawrence going to be it?" And hey, what's happening with Trevor Lawrence? And it's like, no. If they catch 50% of those balls, we're having a different conversation. If they catch all of them, this isn't like, we are having the conversation of Trevor Lawrence being the GOAT. Like, it is really that difference. So Trevor's not the problem. His receivers have been failing him on the small stuff. And that's what I was saying earlier when I'm like, if you watch the film, they're so close on a lot of stuff. And it's just like the small stuff. Hey, dragging your feet. Hey, don't drop these 3 balls in this game on 3rd down, like Calvin Ridley. It got to the point where the offense started to flow. And for anyone who watches, who's watched the Jaguars game, or if you have Calvin Ridley in fantasy, you've probably noticed some things like, hey, first week they were talking him like crazy, 30% target share. And then week 2, 20% target share. Then week 3, 17%. Then week 4, 6%. Like, it's slowly they're figuring out, all right, cool. He's having a rough day. Let's merge what we did last year and have this number 1 receiver. And that may mean that it's going to be somewhere between that 6 and 17%. They're trying to figure out what the best way is to feature him in the offense without making him have to be the number 1 read every single play. And unfortunately, that's going to result in some rough days. That's going to result in some losses, just because you're just trying to figure out what's the best way to run this O. But it's looking good. And if you were looking at those passes that should have been caught, or those tight window throws, Trevor Lawrence is making them. They're looking pretty. His supporting cast has got to show up. But if they catch balls, don't drop balls, don't have those bonehead penalties on 3rd and 4th down, this game is a significantly different game this week and even in the past 2 weeks.
Okay. Oh, hey. All right. So now Trevor Lawrence is making big throws. He's not being viewed as, in my opinion, I don't think he gets the level of respect that he deserves. I think people look at his high turnover games and they judge him as a reckless quarterback, but then they give him the credit when you guys come back, and you guys have come back from some big deficits, huge deficits. So I know when I'm watching the Bills and they go down by 10, I'm sweating. I cannot imagine being down 3 or 4 scores in the first half and then my team coming back to win in the second half. That's crazy. So what is that like? Like, we don't experience that often. We usually boat race things. It's usually over one way or the other. It's not a whole lot of close matchups with us. But what is that like? Like, what would take us through the emotions of being a fan of a team like that?
Well, that's the funnest thing, because again, I'm a fan of the team. Like, I'm a fan of the team, but I also cover the team. So I'm like getting to see this behind the scenes. I'm celebrating with the players. Like, we're in the locker room. Like, this is great. This is the best thing that's ever happened in my life. Going through that Cowboys game of the interception, Rashawn Jenkins returns it for a touchdown and in overtime. just that game, the Chargers game, and being down again, 28 points at one point, and winning the game, like that's just insane. But a lot of the stuff we only now, as of week 1 this season, kind of got the full story of what sounds like was happening last year. And I'm happy you brought this up because I don't think I've heard anybody talk about this, which is weird to me. Doug Peterson, the week of week 1, right before week 1 of the season, made the announcement that Press Taylor was going to be the offensive coordinator calling the games this season. Now, why that's important is because if you know anything about Doug Peterson, you know he's always called his own plays. And we knew he was calling plays last season. Great. Then we find out, wait, no. He actually, Press Taylor was calling plays in the second half of all games last season in 2022. They had that little nugget thrown in and talked about that in press conferences. And we're like, wait a minute. Press Taylor was calling plays in the second half of every game last year. So every single one of those comebacks was a different person, a fully different person calling every game. So anyone who knows anything about the NFL and how halftime works and how those adjustments work, you will know sideline adjustments are normally very minimal. You're not changing the playbook wholesale. You're not doing all these things. Normally, the adjustments that are going to be made in that locker room at halftime, and you're going to have 5 to 7 minutes to really talk about it, and you're out of there. And the Jaguars were literally switching up who's calling plays, which changes the style. All of a sudden, instead of going 2x2 all day, they're going trips and spamming the backside safety or spamming that second or third corner the whole game. And it really does feel like Madden when I say spamming. Like you're playing against a 14-year-old and they just doing the same play over and over and over until you stop it. That was what was happening in that Chargers game. And I'm like, okay, so that actually makes more sense now. You have a whole different person. It's like having to have 2 different playbooks, basically. And unfortunately, the Jaguars got rid of that competitive advantage. I felt like that was a competitive advantage, having a whole different dude calling the plays in the second half, because now the defensive coordinator on the other side of the field, what are you preparing for in the second half of these games? You don't have very much time to do that. So it was an incredible feeling going through all these things. And now that I can go back and look at this with these new eyes back into 2022, I'm like, but then why did y'all stop doing it? Keep that train rolling. Like, let's keep that moving. But it's just the weirdest thing to watch them go through these early season struggles. And that's why a lot of Jaguar fans have been with their pitchforks out talking about, hey, Press Taylor needs to give up play calling back to Doug Peterson because the team's not scoring. They're not putting up these 35-point halves, and and everyone's wondering why. And honestly, if you're looking at the tape, it's still not execute. It's still not the play calling. It's execution. The guys are dropping balls. They're just not dragging the feet. All the things that we kind of just talked about. But it's an amazing feeling knowing that they have this capacity, they have this capability to come back. But I think we don't want it to happen. I don't think the Jag fans are kind of tired of seeing these cardiac casts, and they just want to see them become that team that you guys were last week, or that the Dolphins were the week before. I want to see this team come out and just put up 50 points in a half. Cool. In the opening half, and let me go and go grocery shopping in the second half, and then do something else. You know what I mean, like that. And we just haven't seen them put it together yet. But to your original point, when you were talking about Trevor Lawrence is getting that credit. The reason he doesn't get that credit, though, is because he doesn't make those off schedule throws like Josh. Like Josh makes a lot of stuff that's just out of the out of the structure of the offense. And if he's off platform and everything else, like even Mahomes, it's kind of that same thing. And those are the highlight plays that a lot of people want to see. Whereas you see Trevor Lawrence, all of his highlight throws will be like there's literally no separation, and he's putting that ball in an impossible spot, and that's a great throw, but it's still within the structure of the offense. And Doug's going to always get 30% of that credit, 50% of that credit, whatever it is. And unfortunately, it takes some of the shine off Trevor, and it kind of shares it between the coach and the quarterback.
Absolutely. And, so you've had a lot of expectations going into the season too, right, Travis? And maybe there's something to that too. Right, you made the playoffs last year. You won the playoff game.
You were hoping. Everybody's hoping they pick it up from the end of last season, and all that happened was they kind of just started maybe not where they started last season. I don't want to over exaggerate it, but they definitely regressed from where they ended the season and in kind of trying to figure out how to put in these new pieces of the offense and also deal with those offensive line injuries. So yeah, those high expectations that everyone had. Like I think the lowest win projection I saw from pretty much anyone in the national media had this team at like 10 to 11 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So starting the season 2-2 wasn't in the play. Like that wasn't in the bingo cards. But yeah, so that's going to cause a little bit of frustration for fans. I mean, you have Jacksonville Jaguar home fans booing the team, in the first half against Houston. Like that shows you the level of the expectations from the home team, even though we've historically not had a great team over, like just keeping it 100. Like we haven't. But yeah, they haven't done it yet, and I think unfortunately maybe that was too high of an expectation. But I still believe they can be a 10-win team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I was thinking about the season, Travis, remember a couple years when Tennessee got the 1 seed? Like, this AFC is so competitive, and I was thinking Jacksonville with the AFC South would have been racking up wins, but Houston's been a lot better than we ever thought. I mean, I was pretty high on CJ Stroud, but I never expected it to be this quick, right? This fast. I mean, he's shocking everybody right now. And, maybe this division is really one of the biggest surprises, again, early on, but I do expect. I love your coach. I love Doug Peterson. I think he's going to figure this out. And I share my concerns about this game on Sunday against you guys. I respect what's going on over there. I think you match up well with us. So I think it's going to be a great game. Very early on Sunday morning.
I projected this conference to be a dogfight. It's in writing. If you want to go to bigcatcountry.com and look at the season projections, I said it then. I said Houston was going to be a 7-win team then, and this is before training camp. We're in the middle of training camp, kind of figuring it out at that point. My only question was how many games were the Colts going to win, and I kind of had them at 4 to 5, and even they might surpass that. Like, it's all of these teams are beating teams that are like legit. I won't say legit, but I'm saying like these are average to above average football teams who are getting beat. Like the Colts beat the Ravens, and then they beat the Texans, which was just weird in and of itself. But then the Texans themselves turn around and beat the brakes off the Steelers, and I didn't know what to think about. I didn't know what to think about that.
Yeah, smoked them. They had 2 field goals.
Yep.
Couldn't touch the end zone. Smoked them.
Yep.
And you got the Titans playing the Saints close, beating the Chargers, beat the heck out of Joe Cool and the Bengals. Like, and I'm like, all right. So I thought this was going to be a dogfight of the division. What I didn't expect these guys to be doing is beating up everybody outside of the division. Like that wasn't in my bingo cards for this year. So now, yeah, that's materialized a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be, and even I thought it was going to be a dogfight. So that 10 win might be legitimately the ceiling, just because this might not be a cakewalk of a division.
Now, I think one thing you have in your favor, in my opinion, I think you have the best quarterback in your division. And I think when it comes down to it, in these tough division games, the best quarterback should win more times than he loses.
I can agree with that.
I take for example the Bills, right? We beat up on the Dolphins all the time. Lately, we've been beating up on the Patriots. I mean, they haven't been close, but we struggle with the Jets, and the Jets are the worst team in our division. They make the case to be most times the worst team in football, but they play us tough. And it's just a division thing. And Josh Allen struggles against them.
The Jets really for you guys is the Texans for us. They literally beat us like, what was it, like 10 out of 11 times? The 10 out of the last 11 times. And that's a weird stat that no one talked about, but until after the game when we lost against Houston a few weeks back. It's just one of those games, man. It's just a rough one.
Travis, let's not give the Jets that much credit. Josh Allen 6-4 against them. I mean, every time they beat us, we turn back around and beat them by double what they beat us by. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's just one of those things. Those division games are always hard to predict because they know you. These are the teams that know you the best, and they find ways to just play you tight. And yeah, I get it.
100%. Okay, now you guys have been in London since last week. You guys put the smackdown on the Atlanta Falcons, and one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen strap up to play football on Sundays.
Really?
Desmond Ritter's terrible. I mean, listen, he's an NFL player. I will never get to the level. He's way more talented at football than I am, but it's marginal because he is bad. He's really bad at the quarterback position.
Brother, I was texting with one of my dudes in the media, Kyle Nash, and I'm like, dude, I pray Josh Allen don't hurt this dude because they put Tyler Heineke in this game, they actually might win because this dude was so terrible. He was just missing everything that was reasonably open, and I was just like, yeah, thank goodness for that.
And because the Falcons have weapons, I mean, it's not like they're void of talent.
And this is the year we don't have the Falcons on our schedule, right? I mean, I would love for our defense to be able to go up against Desmond Ridder at least once. But all right, Bills Jags. What it's coming up Sunday. It's gonna be bright and early in the morning. It's gonna be brunch and beers. You know how I go with Buffalo. What are the keys for the Jags? What are the keys for the Jags to win this game?
They got to do something they haven't done this season so far. Is they have to find a way to convert these third down conversions on offense. They just have, for whatever reason, and again, it's all these small things. It's not like other teams are just playing them incredibly. It's like, hey, man, stop dropping balls on third down. Stop getting penalties, like 10-yard penalties, and making these impossible conversion situations. It's just untimely stuff. They are actually reasonably solid on first and second down, and for whatever reason, the numbers just tank on third down, and teams aren't doing one thing consistently against them. So again, I'm saying just show me something that you haven't done this season and find a way to put it together on third downs. The same will also apply in that red zone. You got to get 7 instead of getting 3. But a lot of that, again, you have like 7 or 8 different plays where the receiver just got to get that second foot down on the sideline or these end zone catches. And this is a whole different conversation. It's the small stuff. So I'm hoping the fact that this might be one of the first games this season where they are reasonably not looked at as the favorite. So they don't have a reason to press. You guys, in that way, you guys are the favorite. And I feel like the team has been pressing these, past few weeks. And it's kind of shown in the game in these uncharacteristic drops and just dumb penalties and things of that nature. With them being the underdog, that's where they lived last year. And it was a nice season, And so if we can get something that looks like that, yeah, I'm down. I'm down with everybody looking at the Jaguars as the underdog, game in and game out. But you guys have that great, defensive front. You got Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver versus Luke Fortner. We talked about him earlier, how he might at this point with the return of Cam Robinson be our weakest spot on the O-line. So if you're going to get that inside pressure, that's going to be a problem. It's not going to allow us to pass the ball deep, kind of what we talked about earlier. I don't know how much reps Von Miller is really going to get if he ends up playing at all. I know I saw him on the podcast talking about he's like 90% back, quote unquote.
Yeah.
If that's true, what does he look like on top, going against Anton Harrison? Who knows?
Bro, he's not playing.
You don't think he's playing?
I don't think he's playing either.
It's an early game in the UK against a non-divisional opponent, bro. I don't see it.
Like, we'll know tomorrow if he's traveling, right?
Yeah. I mean, if whether he travels or not, I highly doubt they put him in I highly doubt he's a game day active. And not because I don't think that we need him, because you guys do have you guys are a very, very good team. You're a great matchup to give the Bills trouble. But I think that these other guys have been playing so well. And we do have a young guy named Kingsley Jonathan, who's a bit of a speed rusher that we definitely want to get him as many snaps as possible before he's back to being a healthy scratch on game days. So I definitely see Leonard Floyd, AJ Epinesa, and the rest of the guys. I don't know about Gregory Rousseau. He has a foot injury, so he may or may not play. We don't know yet. We're waiting to see. Dawson Knox has a quad injury, so he may or may not be able to play. It's getting ugly. I mean,
But
it's getting ugly. We're starting to get a little banged up.
I mean, I could lie to you. I could tell you the truth. But if I'm telling you the truth, hey, that sounds good for me as a Jazz fan.
Yeah, I
Because
get it.
I
I get
mean,
it.
yeah, Dawson Knox. When we talked about this yesterday, and Kincaid, they're not really running him on vertical routes. They're not really stretching the field. So these are your check down guys, and they're going to get you those 8 yards. So for the most part, that's not a terrible thing. It's just like it is a loss, but is it not? It's not going to materially change the game in very many ways, unless the person that replaces him is going to have a lot of drops. For the most part, like that Leonard Floyd piece, how much he sees of Cam Robinson, that's going to be interesting. Again, Cam hasn't played, and the last time we did see him play was against the Detroit Lions backups in preseason, and that was not a good game. I know you. I don't expect you guys to be watching Jaguars preseason football, especially when they're
I have
playing against the
not.
backups.
Yeah, I
But
haven't.
no.
Yeah.
I had on my Twitter, Travis D Holmes on Twitter. If you can go back and to again, it was week 2, I believe, of the preseason, and I cut up every single snap of Cam Robinson against the Detroit Lions backups. It was only the first half, and it was not pretty. I mean, I'm talking about he was being bowled over and things of that nature, like on multiple occasions. He had holding penalties where he's just getting dominated because he was also injured late last season. So it's not just the suspension. It was, hey, he's coming back from an injury. He's rusty, all these things. And that's who was going to be our left tackle. So that Leonard Floyd versus Cam Robinson piece is a bigger piece that, again, I don't think a lot of people are talking about because they're just happy that Cam's back. But no, that what that becomes is going to be a big part of this game.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think you'll see Leonard Floyd on the over top of your left or your left tackle. I think you'll see a combination of AJ Epinesa and Kingsley Jonathan if Gregory Rousseau does not play. I think they are going to. If I'm Coach McDermott, and I'm not. I'm less. I'm a less in shape black man with hair. So if I'm McDermott, I'm taking my best pass rusher, Leonard Floyd, if Rousseau's not available, and I'm putting him on the right side over against your right tackle.
Okay.
And I'm gonna let these other guys that like AJ Epinesa, who has some pass rush moves and can win with strength. I'm gonna let him and the speedy Kingsley Jonathan give your guy, fits. I'm gonna work Cam as much as I can and throw multiple guys at him to see, can you handle the speed rush? Can you handle that inside power move? Can you handle that counter? Like, let's see where you're at. But Luke Fortner, I'm gonna speak a little bit about Luke Fortner. I do every year in the off season, myself and a couple other guys, we do a deep dive into a lot of prospects that are coming out in the draft. And Luke Fortner was one of my best day 2/day 3 interior offensive linemen. The one thing, technically sound, solid center. Day 1, he can come in and give you quality minutes. The functional strength was not there though. And that was the issue. That was the only issue with him. If he was stronger, a bit bigger, he's a day 2 pick, easy. Second, third round guy, easy. But the functional strength wasn't there. Kind of similar to a Ricky Stromberg out of Arkansas. But I think Fortner, way more technically sound than Stromberg, where Stromberg has a little more of that athleticism, a little higher upside on the athletic side. But I think Fortner's a good
power. He just struggles with power. That's right.
Yeah, I think Fortner's a good pro. I think he will. I think he will develop ways to mitigate his lack of functional strength. And I mean, maybe he'll just get his grown man strength in a couple of years and become, what I think, how good I think he can be. But that's not going to help on Sunday. Ed Oliver is like top 3 in pressures. Daquan Jones had a sack on Sunday. I mean, these guys are living in the backfield. They are shooting gaps. They're beating interior offensive linemen with speed. And if they're not beating them with speed, they're beating them with scheme and they're beating them with strength. They are winning in multiple ways, and they're going to cause issues for that offensive line. But the
Maybe.
Bills need to figure out a way to run the football against this Jags defense. And I think that is the hardest thing to do. Like, if you're going to attack the Jags, you really got to do it through the air. And to me, when I look at the Jaguars and I look at the Bills and I say, you know what? We can attack this team through the air over and over and over. Josh could have 50 pass attempts, but that plays right into exactly what the Jags want you to do, which is allow Josh Allen to try to figure it out from the pocket or on the move in the air, and then let the Jags, Josh Allen, chase him down and wreck the game again like he did a couple years ago, where we only scored 6 points.
Right, that's the game
gotta
plan.
run the football.
Yeah. What you're saying right now is the exact game plan. Like, these was like you were saying, these defenses are made for both of these teams very similarly. Jaguars, 4th and DVOA and run stopping. Like, this is what we do also. If you're trying to run it inside at at Fatukasi and Adam Gostis, you're gonna struggle. If you might have a chance running some outside zone, running some toss, things of that nature, running your RPO game with Josh, with the other Josh Allen. You might have some success there because they did struggle last year, and also in week 1 against Anthony Richardson doing the same thing. So if there's a thing in the game, something to kind of just write down, all right, cool, Josh Allen running, that may be something that could pose a problem depending on how the Jaguars end up playing that on defense. But yeah, that's the biggest that's the biggest piece is they're going to stop you from running the ball on those early downs, and they're going to try to get you in those third down situations and play a lot of that cover 2 man that we were talking about earlier. Again, you guys play what 25% of that this year. Like, you guys do it often also. So I'm just like, all right, dope. This is going to be interesting to watch that chess match, because we have the corners, and I'm not to say we're not trying to match up with you guys one-on-one. That's historically not what we do, like we just talked about. But Darius Williams, PFF's number 1 corner right now. Tyson Campbell's actually our best corner, and he just doesn't have the grades for it right now. Like, that's 2 great corners with Andre Sisco's the 5th ranked safety right now in the league. Like, a lot like your Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White combination. Like, it's just one of those situations where we have the horses if we can keep the game close. We can't let these explosive plays happen, or these fluky things on special teams and all these other things kind of just muck up the game. But if they find a way to make this, if we find a way to turn this into a dogfight, and that was kind of one of the talking points for the coaching staff last week, is turn it into a dogfight. Find a way to just muck it up and just don't let these easy plays happen. If the Jaguars can do that, and that sounds like that's their goal, this is going to not work in the Bills' favor. And I think you will know it by halftime. Like, you'll be able to say it, like, objectively, hey, at the half, dang, Buffalo's not running the ball well. And this is still a 1-score game. Like, if you see how that works out, and then you're at the half, you're already saying, like, you will know early whether or not this is going to be a game or not. But you guys losing Tre'Davious White this week is probably the one thing that the Jaguars, like, that's the one thing that makes this kind of a coin flip from my perspective, honestly. Because him and Micah Hyde are those guys who those are the 2 pieces that allow you guys to play as much of those 2 defense that you guys do play. So I'm interested in seeing how, your coaching staff is going to flip that one, or how are they going to change up? Are they really going to play things exactly as you normally do? If that is the case, I do have concerns for that second corner. I'm just being real about it.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Not having Tre'Davious White definitely impacts what we do on defense. When you have a guy like Tre'Davious White, he can make the coverage mistakes of other guys go away because he's so good. Same thing with Micah Hyde. Even if you get beat over the top, Micah Hyde has the ability and the experience and the range to track down the football. You remember that interception he had on Mac Jones in the playoffs? I know you do. I know. Shoot. I mean, that was a great play, but that's what Micah does. He allows Micah in that secondary, allows the corners up front to play a little more physical, to be a little more aggressive, to come up and try to take those short and intermediate routes away and force quarterbacks to throw in the tighter windows down the field, which allows his pass rush to get there. And it not only allows the pass rush to get there, but gives our guys an opportunity to turn the ball, to get turnovers. So,
and a lot of people don't give a lot of people don't give your Teron Johnson. A lot of fans don't give him the credit he deserves out of the slot, because that dude was giving up, as of last week, the least separation of all slot corners in the NFL. And I'm like, oh, is that so? Because I was keeping an eye on that last week. Like, all right, Zay Jones, all right, Kristen Kirk. That's just something I need to know. That sounds like an Evan Ingram type of game at that point. Yeah, that dude's a dog.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then that the linebackers that we have, I call them the future All-Pro duo, Terrell Bernard and Matthew Milano. Their ability to play the pass, their ability to cover, their ability to play man, their ability to attack ball carriers, I think is going to be key in this game, because you just brought up Evan Ingram, you just brought up Christian Kirk. Those are two guys, and once they get the ball in their hands, they are very, very difficult to get on the ground. So you have to get to them quickly, and we have to gang tackle, and we have to, everybody in this defense is punching at the football when they get an opportunity to make a tackle. We have to do that. We have to force the Jags to put this ball on the ground and get extra possessions, because 20-point leads are not enough against them. 25-point leads are not enough against the Jags. And I'm not even sure if 35 is enough, because they will come back. Like this kid, Trevor Lawrence, aka Sunshine, is like that. Like, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. They are like that. So, and they got a ton of
either one of these quarterbacks, when they're having an on day, it's a problem. And they are really close as far as completion percentages on these big time throws and all of that. Like, they're really similar in a lot of ways. And it leads itself to an exciting game. And I'm hoping that it becomes that.
Yeah, I think it will. So now we got to go score predictions. Beyond, give me a score prediction.
Okay. I feel a little bit of trepidation and nervousness about this game, right? Coming off the 3 blowouts, coming off the emotion of the Dolphins, going out to London, playing against a team that, like Travis has said, has matched up well with us. I mean, Josh Allen on the Jacksonville side he's a terror. He's a monster. I mean, we got to, go for him. It sounds like this is going to be a game where you mentioned, Travis, you're going to play a lot of cover too. Josh is going to have to be patient, kind of take what they give him, kind of things he was kind of doing against the Jets, minus the turnovers. So we got to watch the turnovers. So in a nutshell, I am a little concerned about losing Trey. Obviously, the week after, it's going to take some time to adjust to that. Some of the other injuries we have with Rousseau, I don't think Vaughn's coming back. I'm not sure about Poyer yet. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing this week or not. But, I think from a betting point of view, if you guys are out there betting 5.5 points, I would take the 5.5 with Jacksonville this week. I am going to pick the Bills to win by 3, 27-24, but I have a healthy amount of respect, Travis, for your Jags. So it's not a slight. It's not nothing of hate at all. I think in a way I kind of want, it sounds weird. I don't want the Bills to have this kind of game, but then I also want to have them to have this kind of game. These are the kind of games you got to win when you want to make the big steps late in the season, right? It's hard to blow teams out by 28 every week or 30. So I'm expecting that kind of game, and I think we're in for an awesome treat. For me in California, 6:30 a.m. on Sunday kickoff. So, So who's next for the prediction? Whittle, would you like to go? We'll have Travis. Travis Whittle.
Beyond.
Can you hear me?
Okay? Oh no, we're gonna go with Travis. We're gonna go with Travis.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Sorry, guys.
No, it's funny though, because your prediction, I've switched my prediction 3 times. Today is Wednesday, man. I've switched my prediction, and no matter what, I have the exact same score as you. That's the funniest part about it. I just have a feeling it's going to be that kind of game. It's going to be that dog fight, that muck it up. That the only question in my head is whether or not the Jaguars are going to be able to run the ball. If the Jaguars get 100+ yards with Travis Etienne on the ground, the Jaguars will win 27-24. If they can't run the ball, they're going to lose 27-24. But that's honestly exactly how I feel about this game. If they find a way to muck it up, and I believe they will. I believe this defense is the best defense you've faced this season. I mean, I say best, and that's not even a stretch of the imagination. Like for DVOA, anyways, the other three defenses you guys faced were. I'm trying not to curse on your podcast, but yeah, we're not good.
I mean, we faced the Jets. We faced the Jets in week 1, that Monday Night Football.
I mean,
We faced the Jets.
even the Jets are 19th in DVOA. They're just below average. Like that's not even.
Hey, Travis, I have to say this. We have June in our group chat. He's a Jeff fan. I could hear him already when he heard that comment. So just want to give a shout out.
Man, I'm not. Hey, I don't speak for myself. I just tell you what the analytics say. DVOA says y'all below average. I'm just the guy who's just telling you what it says. But the Jaguars are, again, you're now you're looking at a top 10 team as far as DVOA is concerned. Hey man, I truly feel that we're going to have a dogfight on our hands, and again, that leads itself to in the Jaguars' favor. So who gets the ball last? What does that heart attack look like? I'm going to go 27-24 Buffalo, and if I'm being real about it, I don't feel good about that at all because this can easily be 27-24 Jaguars.
You see where we are. You see this. You see the comment. We got June in the chat. He's so obsessed with the Buffalo Bills that he doesn't even know who we playing on Sunday. He has no idea. I told him he needs to start paying attention.
Hey man,
to football on Saturdays.
Let that man cope. Let that man cope. His season's been done for a minute.
That's what I'm saying.
It's been a rough go for them.
Listen, the only way the Jets can be contenders is they dress up like one on Halloween. That's it. All right. So I'm going to come at this from a different standpoint. Christian Benford has a shoulder issue. Leonard Floyd's fine. Damian Harris, neck injury. Dawson Knox, we talked about, quad issue. Von Miller, we know about him. Jordan Poyer is practice limited practice. Rousseau did not practice. Those are a lot of starters, and they're all starters on the defense except for Dawson Knox. Not having Dawson Knox means 12 personnel goes away. That puts us in 11 personnel or spread. That plays directly into what the Jags want to see. So with all of those things, and I don't know how this injury report will flesh out over the week, but I'm going to go 35-31 Jags.
Ooh.
I'm going to go 35-31 Jags. I think that they're going to have some success attacking Dane Jackson. And if Christian Benford plays, he's got that shoulder. I don't know if Jordan Poyer is going to be back. This is a different, way more physical offense that has speed on the outside, that can get down the field in a hurry, and they cause all sorts of problems in space with guys who can, make you miss. And even if they don't make you miss, they will run through you. Like that kid Parker Washington is tough. He's a running back that plays wide receiver. I don't know how much time he's gonna play, but
he might not play at all.
Okay.
Yeah, he has a knee issue, unfortunately.
Okay, all right. So he's tough. He's very tough.
That's fine. We got Jamal Agnew. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We got Jamal Agnew. It's okay.
And that's another thing. They're great on special teams. And we've seen Saran Neal make great plays on special teams, and then we've seen him do boneheaded things trying to win the game by himself on special teams. So those are some issues that stand out. Zay Jones going up against Buffalo. I know he's going to play. He's on your injury report, limited in practice. He's playing. He's playing. Antonio Johnson, young safety, he's probably playing as well. And I think Zay Jones is going to give us his best effort. I think the Jags win a shootout on a late touchdown.
So you are projecting this to be the highest scoring Jaguars Bills game that we've ever seen.
Yeah, that 9-6 thing is over with. These teams These teams are too good. These quarterbacks are too good. The weapons on the outside are too good. I think that there's going to be success had against both defenses. I think that it's going to be a shootout, and I worry that potentially not having Rousseau, potentially not having Poyer, and Trey White being out. So you talking about Dane Jackson possibly starting. Yeah, man. Like this Jags team, they can fill it up quick.
So if not, I actually agree with you. I Knox being injured was not on my radar, honestly. To keep just keeping it real, and I don't know how realistic it is that he doesn't play though, because he was limited today. But if he doesn't play, I agree with you. That changes this drastically. Because I mean, again, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. You guys are doing some interesting things, going empty sets out of your two tight end sets, and I'm just like, yeah, what? All right, like you make a defense adjust by having their three linebackers or four linebackers in our case, and all of a sudden you're going empty. All right, cool. That's that chess match that you guys are able to do because you have those two tight ends. And if you only have the main one, I should say, like I don't know who your backup tight end or your third tight end would be, but if you're missing one of those two, that changes the math significantly there.
Yeah, yep. Fan favorite, Quentin Morris.
Fan favorite. I got that.
Yeah.
Is this the guy who's a solid blocker that we were talking about?
Oh my God! Yeah. Don't get me started on the Quentin Morris debate again. Yeah. So so that's what I got, man. And I think that it's going to be a good game. It's a shame that it's as early as it is, because I think people will miss out on a really, really good one. But yeah, I hate to do it, but I got to pick the Jags on this one. And so Travis, man, thank you so much for coming through. We are past the 60-minute mark. We try to keep it as close as possible, but take a few minutes, man, and tell the people where they can find you and any projects you got going on, or if they want to get more content, where can they go?
Yes, sir. Man, you guys can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Twix, whatever. Your mommy named you Twitter, I'm gonna call you Twitter. Like whatever. You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find me on Tuesdays on Inside the South Florida Tribune's Inside the Pigskin podcast. We also have the every Friday at 11 a.m. the Duval Dive podcast with me and my co-host Kyle, the student of the game Nash. You can find my writings on BigCatCountry.com. I cover all breaking news. I'm the news correspondent there. For instance, Dwan Smoot 21-day window was just opened, for being removed from the IR, and also Cam Robinson is coming back this week. So yeah, definitely check out BigCatCountry.com for all the Jacksonville Jaguar news, or maybe you just want to just come and see what the enemy's talking about. Come on, give us a visit. Appreciate you guys having me.
No doubt, man.
Travis, you were great. Thank you so much. Learned a lot about the Jags today, which and I was nervous for the game. Now I'm even more nervous after really breaking down the Jags. So
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, and you're always welcome anytime, and we love having you on. So thank you.
Hey man, I appreciate you guys having me. All I'm here for is to make all the butt cheeks in Buffalo just be just a little bit more clinched at 9:30 on Sunday.
All right, man. We appreciate it, and thank you all for coming through. If you caught us live, man, we appreciate it. We are here every Wednesday. What time we here? What is it?
9 to 10 Eastern time.
There it is, coast to coast every Wednesday from 9 to 10 Eastern Standard Time, 6 to 7 for you West Coasters, you left coasters. We appreciate you guys for coming through. If you like the content, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you make sure that you get a notification every time new content pops up. We have some things coming soon that are a little bit different than this. Yeah, man, like I appreciate you guys coming through. And listen, if you hate the show, tell somebody you don't like, and then they can tune in, and then we can bore them to death and ruin the rest of their day. So I'm Whittle 2K, my co-host Beyond 716. We are joined by Mr. Travis Holmes, straight out of Florida. representing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are signing off. Thank you guys. Go Bills.
Go Bills. Thank you.